Steve here. It's the show where I answer your questions, and this week my first question comes from Corey Donaldson, who says, what is your opinion on celebrities who speak out on important social issues like politics, the environment, and race relations, but then get attacked for voicing their opinion? My opinion is that damn Bono should just shut up and sing. Actually, it's interesting, isn't it, how a lot of times when folks will criticize entertainers for voicing their political opinions or for taking part in some form of social activism, they seem to have a problem not just with the particular things that the celebrity has said or done, but with the very idea that they would have a political opinion or that they would care about a social issue at all. You know, that's why the whole shut up and sing thing baffles me. It's like, you're a singer. That's all you ever get to do. You know, you're an actor. That's what you do. Stop trying to do political stuff. Stop trying to do activist stuff. That's not what you do. You do what you're supposed to do. If you have a specific objection to what this celebrity is saying, by all means, speak up. If you're saying that you have no right to speak up on this because you are a celebrity, because you are an entertainer, then you're discrediting the argument by appealing to something about the person, which is an ad hominem. I think celebrities should feel free to speak out about whatever they want and voice their opinions on whatever they care about. And we should respond to those statements or choose whether or not we want to respond to those statements based on the content of the statements themselves, not based on the fact that, you're an entertainer, you don't get to talk about that. That's just silly. Ahoy year no. Back when 9/11 just happened, people said this was the beginning of a new era. Honestly, in hindsight, it doesn't seem to be that. W would have attacked some countries anyways, and it was more or less a one-time thing compared to the daily shootings/terrorism by white Americans. I now feel that Trump is actually a much bigger deal. A fascist actually managed to take control of the American presidency. This changes the rules on a fundamental level. It especially seems that the power of the Constitution will be heavily challenged. What do you think? Imagine George W. Bush calling out federal judges who ruled against him and threatening them and preemptively blaming them for imaginary future terrorist attacks if they don't rule his way. I mean, that's atrocious. You would never imagine that George W. Bush would do something like that. You would imagine he would do something more traditionally destructive, like go start a war with a country that never attacked us. You would never expect that he would, but in doing so, he would not do it in a way that would undermine the role of government in our culture, that would undermine the foundations of democracy in the way that Trump has done. You would never imagine George W. Bush saying things like, well, you shouldn't believe anything the media says if they say anything negative about me. You should only believe me. I am the only reliable source for information, as Trump and his spokespeople in his administration have done repeatedly. I mean, there is a lot of overtly authoritarian stuff going on, where Trump and his administration are trying very hard, very, very willfully and very openly to say to people, you should only believe us. You should only trust us. When people say bad things about us, you shouldn't believe them. You should only believe us. And don't listen to the media, except for these few pieces of the media that we have deemed acceptable. And anybody who challenges us and anybody who disagrees with us and anybody who tries to limit us or stop us from doing what we want to do, including the courts, are threats and should be viewed as threats. I completely agree with you. Trump is in a completely different category than Bush was. Bush was a bad president in the normal mold of what a bad president looks like. Trump is something different entirely. And that's why it's so vital that Democrats in Congress do everything they can to resist him at every step, and why it is so unforgivable the way that the Republicans in Congress have done nothing but roll over and enable him to this point. JDODify, I've been watching your channel for years and watch you had to ask every week. You now only answer questions from progressive liberals like myself. However, do you think there's any value in answering a question from a total dickhead as a means of setting them straight and providing a good answer to a commonly spouted trope by the misogynist, alt-right, anti-social justice crowd? I think that's part of the problem with the rise of the far right, both with you and here in Europe. We criticize the idiots who give this commentary, but don't often enough address the comments and explain why they are wrong in simple terms. So we end up creating our echo chamber, which is what got us all into this mess with Brexit, Trump, and now Le Pen in France and AfD in Germany. Do you agree? I agree to a point. I do worry that we waste way too much time having debates, quote unquote, about stuff that should no longer be up for debate in the mainstream. A lot of the issues that are being pushed by the white supremacists in the alt-right or the Trump administration, or the people who were behind the Brexit campaign, and the supporters and the leaders of the far-right movements throughout Europe. A lot of these things have gained cultural traction because we have allowed them to have so much space in the conversation to begin with. These people are kooks. These people are racists. These people are misogynists. These people are xenophobes, anti-immigrant, anti-refugee assholes. They're not saying anything new. They're not saying anything that people on the far right haven't been saying for the last 100 years. This, go off with you. We're not going to pay attention to you. Go away. You will have no place in the mainstream discourse. That should have been the answer. That should have been the response. But it wasn't the response. The response was, oh, let's hear what they have to say. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Let's invite them on and we'll hear them out. And everybody, if they say something terrible, then, well, we can respond to it later. You know, we can offer a rebuttal at a later time. And everybody will probably be able to tell that what they're saying is just foolish. And we'll, you know, we'll have done good work, you know, the marketplace of ideas. And I just think that has completely backfired and left us in a really terrible position where people with awful ideas, people pushing toxic views, have been enabled by being granted so many platforms in the name of free speech, in the name of open discourse, in the name of, well, let's just let everybody see what fools they are. And the opposite has happened. They have taken advantage of those platforms. They have pushed their ideas. They have convinced a great many people that they're right. They have grown in followers, grown in influence. And now here we are. So given the state that we're in now, I think answering them, articulating why their ideas are wrong is in some cases necessary. I mean, it just can't be avoided. I mean, the fact of the matter is Donald Trump is the president of the United States. So when Donald Trump says something like, let's ban refugees from these 7 countries, we need to be able to point out that is a horrible idea and something that should not be allowed to happen. And we need to articulate all the reasons why that shouldn't be allowed to happen and why that is wrong. But we also need to be doing work on the other side. We need to start denying platforms to these people. We need to start phasing these people out of the mainstream conversation and pushing them back off to the fringe where they belong so that we don't have to keep doing this. Bruce Barta, my question, how worried are you that Justice Gorish, a noted legal literalist, may be confirmed to the Supreme Court of the United States? Or let me put it this way, what rights would corporate America as persons want a literal interpretation of? Habeas corpus, right to remain silent, double jeopardy, Fifth Amendment, Fourth, Second? Now how worried are you? Oh, I'm worried, believe me. The thing that worries me the most is that I think his confirmation is inevitable. I just don't think that there is much that Democrats will be able to do to stop him. They can delay him, and they can maybe put up enough of a fight that they will be able to use that to their advantage in 2018 when time comes for elections, and they can say, hey, remember, we were the ones who fought this. We were the ones who stood up for this and did everything we could to resist it. And those Republicans, they're the ones that enabled it. I think that may be the game that they are playing, and it may be the only game that they have left to play. It may be their only move, to just resist it tooth and nail with everything that they can, knowing that they will inevitably lose, but also knowing that they are laying the foundation for taking things back in 2018. If Donald Trump gets essentially a rubber stamp Supreme Court, just think about that. Think of all of the things that he has tried to do just in the first month by executive order, and how he has been held back to an extent by the court system. And now imagine that the final court of appeal in that court system, the Supreme Court, is a rubber stamp court in favor of Donald Trump that would enable him to essentially do whatever he wanted. Just think about that. Think about how scary that is. Yeah, I'm very scared. I'm very, very worried about it. Jordan P. Hey, Steve, I have been watching Supergirl, and I enjoy it very much so far, even though I'm a Marvel fan at heart. It's very interesting to see a fictional superhero even mention, "Don't you think that's anti-feminist?" Which was very cool to see, when the writers could have easily played it safe and just have Supergirl say, "Don't you think that's sexist?" Also, I've been watching a sitcom on Netflix called One Day at a Time, where the teenage daughter is very outspoken about her feminism, and also the show deals with a lot of issues women face and the Latinx community deal with. I also finished watching Transparent. That has a lot of feminist themes as well. Well, anyway, I have a theory. Do you think there would be more positive mentions of feminism or feminist-like characters in the future of entertainment due to the Trump administration and the Women's March on Washington? As I'm sure a lot of folks who watch me regularly know, I watch Supergirl every week. I love it. It's one of my favorite shows. And it is explicitly, blatantly feminist. It's not just subtext with the show. It is text. The characters will occasionally say things that are female empowering, that are feminist. And I think it's just wonderful. I think it's one of the best parts of the show. I think it's terrific to have a show on the air that is a superhero show, that is a fun, goofy adventure show, that also has that element of progressivism and social consciousness, and has characters, strong, powerful characters, coming out and saying pro-supportive things about feminism. I think that's great. And I do think we will see more of that. I do think that we will see more of that as a combination of both, as a result, I should say, as a result of the combination of just an increased number of woman creators. Women are finally starting to direct more episodes of TV, direct more movies. Women are getting more spots on writers' staffs. Women are creating more shows and having more success in creating shows. So that the voices of many different women, and women from many different backgrounds, women of different races, women from different ethnicities and different religious backgrounds, that is just becoming much more a part of our popular culture. So it'll be, the feminist content will be increasing as a result of that, and also it will be increasing because of the responses that people will be making to Trump and the pushback to Trump and to Trumpism. Like I say, I think it will be one of the few silver linings of these next 4 years, that it will energize and embolden the more progressive voices in our culture, the progressive voices among the artists, and will definitely be encouraging people to speak out more and to add those voices in a much louder, more visible way to our popular culture. And I think that'll be a wonderful thing and a very necessary thing. And I think it will be a great comfort in these next 2 to 4 years. Matt Helmers, yo, Steve, I was recently discussing the value of tolerating different cultures with my mother-in-law. She is far right and gets most of her news from Breitbart. After hearing her thoughts on an ideal society, I realized she and I were talking about totally different things. She was talking about cultural relativism, while I was talking about the American ideal of pluralism. Once I explained the difference, she realized that she actually believes in pluralism. I've noticed that many on the right who gripe about multiculturalism never seem to make or know the distinction between that and pluralism. This often leads their listeners and readers with antipathy toward any culture that isn't the majority. Do you think we could gain some ground if we engaged with them more and explained the difference? Sure, I think there's value in doing that. It kind of ties in with what JDODify was saying in his question. I think it might be a better idea to just broadcast that and not target it specifically at people like your mother-in-law, but target it at people who maybe just don't know or haven't made up their mind or haven't really thought about it. I think that is an area where there's a lot more ground to be gained than specifically trying to reach out to people who are like pro-Trump people and trying to convince them. I think some of those folks will be convinced by osmosis if you cast the net wider and say, okay, when we talk about multiculturalism, when we talk about diversity, here's what we mean. I have noticed that a lot of conservatives, a lot of people on the right, when they criticize multiculturalism, when they criticize diversity, when they criticize pluralism, what they're actually criticizing is tokenism. And they're talking about diversity as though tokenism is the only form of diversity that they understand or that they think exists. Like diversity means, well, just squeezing a few black people in just for the sake of it. Just so we can say there are black people here now, we are diverse, and we can pat ourselves on the back. And I think the reason why they do that, and the reason why they always seem to be envisioning that that's what it means to have a pluralistic, diverse society, is because that's the only kind of diversity that they ever actually do themselves. But the other thing that I think a lot of folks who are against pluralism have a problem with is, and this is just something that is already happening and is going to happen more often in the future, it means not everything is going to be for white people. We white folks here in the United States live in a culture where up until now, pretty much everything has been for us. Everything has been calculated to appeal to us, or at the very least, to not alienate us. And the few things that are designed specifically for black folks or for women or for Latinx folks, they're all sort of presented in their own little pockets. So us white people don't have to engage with them if we don't want to. Oh, they've got BET. Okay, that's all they need. The women have Lifetime, and they can have their own little thing over there. Meanwhile, the other 99% of culture is for us. And that is something that would change and is already starting to change in a pluralistic culture where there are many different types of people, there are many different identities, there are many different ethnicities, there are many different races, there are many different communities that are all represented and are all sharing a common community, a common culture here in this country. Not everything's going to be for us white folks, for us white men. And there will be things in the mainstream that will be, the product of black voices, that will be the product of women voices, that will be the product of LGBTQ voices, that we will see on TV, that we will see in commercials, that we will encounter as we go about our everyday lives. And some white folks are already kind of pissed off about that. They're already kind of pissed off that they're seeing things in the popular culture, just in general, that are not for them. And that's something that's just going to have, that attitude is just going to have to change. People are just going to have to get used to it, because that is another part of what diversity means. It means that you don't segregate all of the black stuff on BET. You don't segregate all of the women's stuff on Lifetime. It's out in the open where everybody can see it and where everybody can enjoy it. And if it doesn't appeal to you, that's fine. You don't have to like it, but you're going to have to stop flipping out whenever you see it. You're going to have to stop grumbling and groaning and moaning whenever you see it, or you're going to be a very unhappy person, because that's just what pluralism means. It means not everything is targeted at people from your background, in your demographic. It means that we have a diverse culture that we all share. Just like you and I have shared this time together, and our time together is almost through, but before we part ways for another week, I feel like I should take a few minutes to answer some more questions in a segment that I like to call
The Lightning Round.
Existential Anarchist, quick question, Sartre or Foucault? Oh, buddy, are you asking the wrong guy that question? Bless your heart for thinking that I would actually be able to give an informed opinion on whether I prefer Sartre or Foucault. I'm more of a Neil Adams or Jim Aparo guy. But thank you for paying me the compliment of thinking that I would actually have an informed answer to that question. Der Wunderbar, what do you think about Dopinder, the Indian taxi driver returning to Deadpool 2? I think it's awesome because he's such an incredible supporting character. The chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and Karan Soni, who portrayed Dopinder, was so great. And do you believe that the fundamental things apply as time goes by? Oh yes, of course I do. The fundamental things do apply as time goes by. You must remember this. With a movie like Deadpool that has a very snarky, very sort of spoofish attitude about it to begin with, I think you can get away with that, and I think it's great. I think bringing back characters that are fun and that play well with the main characters is always a good idea. So I think it'll probably be fine. If the movie's funny, it'll be fine. You know. Lucas Hackett, hey Steve, given that you don't watch WWE anymore, I probably won't blame you if you don't, what would you say which era was your favorite? The golden era, the new generation, the attitude era, the ruthless aggression era, or the modern era? P.S. Now that you decided to stop watching WWE, will you be leaning somewhere towards companies like Impact Wrestling, Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, and New Japan Pro Wrestling now? Favorite era? I mean, I can't really pick a single era that is my favorite, but in terms of actual wrestling and quality of the show, it would probably be the end of the Attitude Era and the beginning of the Ruthless Aggression Era, somewhere around maybe from 2001 to 2003 or 4, where admittedly some of the storylines were still pretty awful, but the actual in-ring product was just fantastic. So I would probably go for something like that. And yes, I have been watching more New Japan lately. I haven't watched a lot of it since I swore off the WWE Network, but I am watching more of it than usual. So I'll probably be veering more into a New Japan direction for my wrestling, to get my wrestling fix from now on. Patrick Dodds, if there was a fight between Clubber Lang versus Ivan Drago, who would win, and why do you think so? Drago needed like all the advanced Soviet technology and the steroids and the professional gym, you know. Clubber just did some sit-ups and chin-ups in his fucking apartment and he beat Rocky. It's gotta be Clubber. Joshua Purvis, hi Steve, hope you're having a great day. My question is, what do you think of the new King Kong movie coming up? Hi Stuffy, hope he's doing well. Thanks Steve. Have you seen any of the Rush Hour movies? Hi Joshua, Stuffy's great. Stuffy says hi. I think the new King Kong movie, you're referring to Kong Skull Island. I mean, if it is as fun and as goofy as it looks like it will be, then I'm looking forward to it. And yes, I have seen the first 2 of the Rush Hour movies. I had forgotten that Rush Hour 3 even existed. I haven't seen that, but I've seen the first 2 Rush Hour movies, and I thought the first one was actually pretty good. I thought Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker were a good team. Probably the only Brett Ratner movie I can recall seeing and actually liking. Matt Machado, hey Steve, let's say you agreed to appear on a cruelty-free YouTube version of Circus of the Stars. Circus of the YouTube Stars? What would your act be and why? I would be an atheist who is supportive of feminism. Because apparently that's a tough act to pull off, judging by the number of people who attempt it versus the number of people who attempt the opposite. So that would have to be my act. Kevin Logan, Steve, why have you never done a video about the Bowling Green massacre? I can only assume it's because you hate Merca. I did a bunch of videos on the Bowling Green massacre, but they were all taken down. They were deleted because I think YouTube is in on it. YouTube is part of the mass media conspiracy to stop us from getting the word out about the Bowling Green massacre, which is why I feel like I should take this opportunity in this video to say what I really feel about the Bowling Green massacre and to talk about what actually happened. Do you realize you have been lied to by your media? The Bowling Green massacre was a terrible tragedy and hopefully now that you've heard the truth, people will start to wake up and spread the word about what actually happened at the Bowling Green massacre. That's all I have to say about it. Radical Bacon, when are you going to dispose of the rest of your Christmas corner? I think it's permanent, actually. And I didn't dispose of it in this video, but I did the next best thing. I framed it out. See, it's still over there. There it is. Look, there's the Christmas corner. But I framed it out so it wouldn't be cluttering up the background of my shot anymore. And it's you know what it is? It's just, it's like gift bags. It's just leftover gift bags. And whenever me or my wife buy a present for somebody that's like gift bag size, we can just reach over there and grab a gift bag, and you know, we don't have to go shopping for gift bags. It's great. It's great for lazy gift givers like me. So it's probably just going to stay. I should probably find a more tidy way of keeping it. Maybe put it all in like a box or a bin or something, but it's not going anywhere probably. James Russell, Steve, what do you make of Alex Jones's recent statement that he's ready to die for Donald Trump? What upsets me is that all of the people who are going to die are not people like him, but are people who are going to needlessly suffer because of prejudice and bigotry and lack of health care and all this other stuff. So, no, that's the sad part. People will die for Donald Trump, but it won't be people like Alex Jones. On that light, happy note, that's the end of the lightning round. That's it for the questions. The shout out this week is an organization called the National Center for Transgender Equality. This is an organization that advocates for the rights of trans folks on several fronts. They offer assistance in getting your ID changed, getting your documents changed if you are a person who is transitioning and want to have your gender accurately represented on your government ID documents, on your driver's license and your passport, etc. They can help with that. They offer legal assistance. They offer assistance in combating hate crimes, which is a problem that afflicts far too many transgender people. Trans people are far more likely, even than other people in other marginalized groups, of being victims of hate crimes. And they do a lot of very important and sadly very necessary work. So I would urge you to go check out the National Center for Transgender Equality. Their website is transequality.org. And go give them a look. And if you can afford to throw a few bucks their way, I would urge you to do so. And if not, at least try to raise a little awareness about them. Try to educate yourself on some of the issues that they care about. And maybe share the website, share some of the articles that they post with people on your social media to just sort of do a little bit to combat a lot of the transphobia and anti-trans violence and hatred and ignorance that is constantly being spread by people online and elsewhere. And do your part to stand up and try to be a good ally for trans folks as a cis person like myself. That's it. Trans Equality, National Center for Transgender Equality. That's the shout out. I also have a couple of special shout outs this week because I am not musically inclined myself, but in the last week I have had two people make songs out of stuff that I wrote. And one of them was something that I wrote with no intention of ever turning it into a song, and the other was something that I did actually write hoping it would be a song. So the first one is JDODify, who had a question in this week's You Had to Ask video. He turned my Donald Trump limericks that I did a video about a few weeks ago into a punk song called The Donald. It's really, really, really awesome, and you can listen to it on his SoundCloud account. It's linked in the description box. The song is called The Donald, and he punkified my Donald Trump limericks. He had to change the lyrics a little bit to fit the song, but it really turned out amazing, and I'm really, really thankful to JD for doing that. I really want everybody to go listen to it because it turned out really, really well. And then my buddy Jason Brunet of Three Ninjas fame, not the movie, the band, he took some lyrics that I wrote for a song about that was inspired by Richard Spencer being punched, and he wrote a song called To Punch a Nazi, lyrics by me, music by Jason, and it turned out fucking amazing as well, mostly thanks to the great talent of Jason Brunet. So you can check that out on his SoundCloud, and there's a link to that in the description as well. So I wrote two songs, or co-wrote two songs, that were brought to life and made into something worth listening to by two very talented musicians who I am pleased to call my friends. So go check them out. Check out both of those, linked in the description box. I also want to recommend, as always, that you please check out the Lemme Listen family of podcasts. These are podcasts that are co-hosted by Jason Harding, the great Jason with a D. There's a whole bunch of awesome Lemme Listen podcasts, including Lemme Finish, which is co-hosted by Jason and Finite Atticus. Filmtastic Voyage, co-hosted by Mike and Alex. Cinetific, which is a movie science podcast, co-hosted by Professor Jason and Professor Aaron. American Monsters and How to Destroy Them, the hilarious improv comedy podcast. And last but certainly not least, Late Seating, which is co-hosted by Jason and me, where we watch an old movie, we give it a fresh review, and we decide whether or not it deserves its reputation, whether it has a reputation for being good or bad. You can listen to our most recent episode, which is a review of the classic musical Singin' in the Rain, and you can get ready for our next episode, which is going to be a review, oh, it hurts just to say it, of Love Actually. You can go watch Love Actually if you want to, be up to speed for our next episode of Late Seating, which will go up next week. But for now, you can listen to all of the past episodes of Late Seating and all of the episodes of all of the awesome Lemme Listen podcasts by going to lemmelistenpodcast.com. And if you do, I don't think you'll be sorry. Maybe I'm naive. I don't know. Anyway, that's it for me, everybody. That's it for the questions. That's it for the shout out, all of the plugs. It's all done. I'm out of here. If you have a question that you would like to hear me answer next time, please leave a comment on this video and ask me your question for next time. Nothing is too serious. Nothing is too silly. I will answer as many of your questions as I possibly can in the next video. So please do leave a comment on this video asking your question. In order for me to do this, you have to ask. That's it, everybody. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care. Hey folks, one more thing before I go. Thanks once again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And also please consider helping me to make more videos like this one by supporting this channel through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron of this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.